So if you're following along in these videos, we're taking a look at your swimming pool pump and we're trying to figure out how to get a new one that is properly sized for your needs. Now, this is a chronic problem within the pool and spa industry. Swimming pool pumps just largely are not sized properly for pool and spa applications, and as a result there's a lot of wasted energy, and that's the bottom line, a lot of wasted energy. So we've looked at already the size of the pipes that you have. This is a very important consideration. Most likely you will have 1.5 or 2-inch pipes, and it's important that you know which ones you have and how many of each that you have. And the reason that you need to know about that is because of your filter, and that's something that we talked about in another video as well, identifying the maximum design flow rate for your filter. Every pool filter will have a maximum design flow rating, and this is the maximum gallons per minute that you can send through your plumbing system before you risk damage to your pool filter. And you might be thinking, okay, yeah, important point, I'll remember that. I don't want to proceed yet because I don't think you understand just how common this is. Like, easily half of the swimming pools out there have swimming pool pumps that overdrive the maximum design flow rate for your filter. And well, what would happen if that happened? Well, it's probably not just black and white. It's probably not like you exceeded your maximum design flow rate by 2 gallons per minute, so everything stopped working and your filter broke. Probably not like that. More like you wouldn't get the full service life that you might expect to get from that equipment. Maybe the internals of that equipment wear out a little bit early. Maybe they wear out a lot early. And that's a real consideration, because what I'm trying to tell you here is that a lot of swimming pool pumps are massively oversized for filters. So we're talking about, what size pipes you have and maximum design flow rates, but let's get specific about something here. Let's say that you have a sand filter. Sand filters are the entry-level swimming pool filter. In most cases, it's the cheapest option that's going to get the job done. And as a result of that, they're very popular. There's a lot of them out there. And so a lot of people watching this video and subsequently shopping for a new pool pump, you're going to have a sand filter. This is very significant because sand filters, by and large, have a very low maximum design flow rate. Let's take an example of a small or medium-sized swimming pool with a small or medium-sized sand filter for the pool. That sand filter will probably have a maximum designed flow rate somewhere in the range of 50 to perhaps 75 gallons per minute. It sounds like a lot, and it is a lot, but the reality is that the average swimming pool pump is going to easily be able to meet and exceed those values. And again, this isn't a black and white situation where you exceed the values a little bit and your filter just immediately breaks, although I suppose it is possible in an extreme example. More like you hook up a new pool pump that's really too powerful for your sand filter, and you find that you just always seem to have sand in the bottom of your swimming pool. Or perhaps, after a couple of years of operation, you have a lot of sand in your pool suddenly because something inside of your pool filter has broken or cracked because you've just been sending too much pressure chronically through the filter. So again, that small to medium sized pool example with the small to medium sized sand filter at 50 to 75 gallons per minute. This is significant because even a single 1.5-inch suction line and a single 1.5-inch return line with a modest 1 horsepower pump could easily make 75 to 80 gallons per minute through a pool system. And so even this very modestly sized swimming pool pump example is well exceeding the maximum design flow rate for small and medium-sized sand filters. Even large sand filters have a very low maximum design flow rate. The multi-port valve in the top of a sand filter is a unique part of a swimming pool system that provides a great deal of resistance to flow. And this is significant because the other two common filter options for swimming pools, being diatomaceous earth filters or DE filters and cartridge pool filters, they don't have a multi-port valve in the same way that a sand filter does, and thereby they don't really experience the same resistance to flow, and as a result they typically have much higher flow ratings, maximum design flow ratings, than what a sand filter might have. Previously, we were talking about an example of a small to medium-sized pool with a small to medium-sized sand filter. Well, if you had a small to medium-sized cartridge filter, appropriately sized for your small to medium-sized pool, what you would find is that where the sand filter had 50 or perhaps 75 gallons per minute as the maximum design flow rate, that small to medium-sized cartridge filter is more like 80, 100, 120 gallons per minute maximum design flow rate, because they are a substantial improvement in terms of resistance to flow. The more resistance to flow in your swimming pool system, the more your pump is working, the more resistance to flow, the harder the pump works, the less water that you're able to pump, and the more energy that you're using to do it. It's not a linear equation, something that's just really easy to describe like that, because the truth is that you could make a pump work pretty hard, but it actually uses less power overall because there's a balance equation happening in terms of flow and power consumption. And this is something that is critically important when you start talking about buying a new swimming pool pump, because if you're shopping right now, you probably have a single speed pool pump currently. You definitely need to be shopping for a variable speed pool pump. And that's something that I want to show you here in this video. We're talking about maximum design flow rates, and we're talking about single speed versus variable speed swimming pool pumps. So I'm going to show you a couple of things here. And the first thing that I want to show you is just how much water you're able to move through a plumbing system. Now, I've got this pump hooked up with a 2-inch suction and a 2-inch return, just one of each. There's a 150 square foot cartridge filter that has a maximum design flow rate of 120 gallons per minute. And I have some flow meters installed on this system. So let's go ahead and ramp up this 1.5 horsepower pump, something that's fairly modestly sized, and I'll show you just how much flow you're able to get from something like just one 2-inch pipe. Alright, so let's go ahead and crank it up. Probably rate about 103 gallons per minute, give or take. And just for fun, take a look at the power consumption there. In the top right corner, 2.28 kilowatts, or 2,280 watts. 10.3 amps current draw. And that's just through a single 2-inch suction line and 2-inch return line. Just under 10 psi. At only 1.5 horsepower. This is a modestly sized swimming pool pump. And yet if we had a small or medium-sized sand filter, we would have easily been overdriving it there. And that's what I want you to avoid when you're shopping. You need to look at the pipe size that you have to know how much flow potential you're dealing with. You know, an 1.5-inch pipe might be 80 to 90 gallons per minute, something like that. A 2-inch pipe might be 100 to 110 or 120 gallons per minute. That's what you might experience in an average swimming pool system. This is a dynamic equation. At 1.5 horsepower, a lot of people shopping think, well, that's not so big. You know, the old pump that I had was 1 horsepower. I saw this great deal on a 2 horsepower pump. That must be twice as good as the old one, right? That's not how this works. It's very counterintuitive, and the reality is that smaller is better when it comes to filtration pumps. This one here at 1.5 horsepower is rated up to 2.2 horsepower by something called the service factor, which could be summarized by calling it sprint mode for your motor. So this one has the capacity to be 2.2 horsepower for periods of time or sustained periods of time at 1.5 horsepower, and we were already able to exceed 100 gallons per minute out of a single suction and return line. What if we had 2, 3, or 4 suction lines and 2, 3, or 4 return lines? If you matched that pump to a sand filter, you're definitely going to be overdriving it. And worst of all, if you have a 1 horsepower pump that has died and you're thinking, well, I'm going to get a 2 horsepower or maybe one of those fancy 3 horsepower models. There's a couple of flagship pumps on the market that are 3 horsepower, and they often go on sale, things like that, and people buy them up thinking they're getting a great deal. You need to have a massive pool. You need to have a ton of suction and return lines. The average above ground pool or modestly sized in-ground pool does not need a 3 horsepower filtration pump. So much so that having one is actually going to be detrimental to your system. It's certainly not going to be economical to run, and it's probably going to exceed the flow rate of your filter, even if you have a fairly large, fairly robust filter for your pool. 3 horsepower for filtration is just too much for most applications. So that's what I want you to take away from this video. When you're shopping, you're analyzing your pipes to get an idea for your flow potential. You're looking at your maximum design flow rate for your filter, because that's really something that is going to dictate which pump is the right one for your pool. And in most cases, smaller is better when it comes to filtration pumps for swimming pools and spas. If you found this information helpful, please be sure to like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And you can check out my website, swimmingpoolsteve.com.